I'm recording me. I'll erase other people. But just for our own sake, because sometimes we brown out during presentations and our voice keeps going, we're going to record, and this way you can see if we're brilliant or not later on. Yeah. So just to let you know, a little bit of housekeeping here. Please stay safe. Anyone here can leave at any time. I will not be offended. We will not be offended. This material can be challenging for anyone, and it can be mind-blowing. Professionals in the room, we're definitely going to challenge what you have learned, so feel free to leave. There is a safe space, nice quiet room, over by the art tables. If you need to flee to singular space, it's right out that door. And Plural Systems. Plural Systems, try and put this on broadcast, okay, so that people aren't fighting over front and, you know, you're cycling through a bunch of people who are interested in what we're saying. Like, put it on a giant PA system, put it on blast, put it on your internal TV, closed circuit TV system, whatever it is you got going on. If it's Harry Potter, you know, make sure the Patronuses are out there, like, sending messages to the masses. Whatever you got going on, make sure you have everything on blast. Or if you don't know how to do any of that, at least listen with the intention of sharing with anybody who wants to listen. So have a strong intention of sharing. And if not, try and turn on your internal recording equipment so other people can get the recording later. So it may take a few months to digest the depth of the material I'm about to present. It may take time to put it into practice, and it also may save you several months of therapy. Okay, in this space, we're in plural safe space. We're going to use plural normative language, which means we're going to call everyone people. We are going to address everyone as a plural, whether or not you have letters after your name. We're going to assume everybody in this room is plural. So I am looking out at this stadium full of zillions of people and creatures and all kinds of interesting things. And I'm really incredibly excited to know just the multitudes that I'm addressing right now. It's amazing. Okay. Get out of my way. All right. So we are Reverend Chris Ederman in the singular normative world, and amongst plurals we're known as the Chris's. We are diagnosed DID, but we like to call ourselves plural and use the larger umbrella to encompass all of our everythingness. I'm not using the mic right now, so if you want me to use it, I will point it at me. Do you need it? Okay. I'll do the 70s thing. Here we go. And I'll try not to sing. Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes? All righty. So we're a plural system. Under the big umbrella of plural, we are DID. And we have, depending on how we count, we have 110 system members or so in about 10 subsystems. We have no core, no original, no single host. Nobody in here goes by the name Christina that we were born with. And many of us are non-human, we're gender fluid, we are non-binary. We played together as kids. I don't know if anybody else had this experience, but being in body a only child, we actually played Monopoly together, and we sang Broadway show tunes together and traded off parts. And the minute our bedroom door closed, much like this room, it was our safe space. Nobody else is here but us. And we loved that. So when we turned 16 years old, names started coming and faces, and we started meeting each other, and we were like, oh my God, I know you. You've been here a long time. And we decided to work together as a team. And that was 33 years ago. So we consider ourselves an expert by experience. We we have been doing self-help work and teaching Plural's self-help work and sharing self-help materials online for at least 20 years. Our first website was in 1996. I have to remember to say 90, not 80. We came out to each other in 86. In 96, we opened up our first website on AOL, and it was like Squiggle Ederman 206 or something like that. And so that's when we put our story up of all of our various origin stories and shared that we had many people in our head. And we started getting fan mail. Must have come from Yahoo or something, who knows. Google didn't exist back then, by the way, those of you who are younger than I. It was, an amazing thing getting fan mail for just telling our story. And eventually we got together with a lot of other plurals. We started figuring things out together and started sharing that, and that became kinhost.org, which is a ginormous self-help website for plurals online. We're a student of psychology. We're a product of subjective reality. We've done many spiritual studies, shamanic practitioner work. We're a life coach, and we have the Liberated Life Coaching table out front. There we go. We're the main contributor of kinhost.org, which used to be a wiki for a little while, so there are other contributors, and we welcome people's input. If anybody wants to donate articles, because we're way behind, we would really appreciate it. So why did I say I'm a product of subjective reality? Science studies so-called objective reality or consensual reality. Psychology attempts to regulate subjective reality without really being able to study it. They can't get in our head. They can't see what's going on in here, right? They can look at brain scans and all this other stuff, but they can't really get in there, right? So our internal relationships up here are 100% subjective reality. And objective reality and science can actually, technically no longer apply. Can't study us, can't tell us what's going on up here. They can't see it, they can't send a projector in there and, or videotape it. They don't know what's going on up here. Only we do. So once we enter internal reality, who are the experts? Yeah. Come on, everybody. Who's the expert? All right. No, I'm going to teach you some empowerment, really, serious. All right. So from here on, it's all about suspension of disbelief. Okay. There are no studies. There is no specialists in internal reality. There's only us experts, all of us. So who here is or has been part of a system or have subsystems? Good. Anybody not raising their hand? Who's not raising their hand? Who's not a part of a system? Not a part of a system? Okay. You're not sure? Okay, we're all a part of a system. Like, we're in the solar system. We're in a government system. We're in a political system. We're in a cultural system where we all went to school and we're part of a school system, right? We're all part of a system. A little bit of a trick question for you, sorry. We were thinking there might be a lot of experts in the room. We want to kind of out them, experts. So the definition of a system is a set of connected elements, which could be subsystems, members, entities, factors, parts, and boundaries, forming a complex whole organized for a common purpose, nested in and influenced by a larger surrounding system, and engaged in commerce with its surrounding and neighboring systems. So we're surrounded by systems. If you do any systems theory kind of stuff, we're completely and utterly surrounded. Family system, local systems, rain and weather systems, and planetary systems, and universe systems, and even inside of our body, digestive system, and so on. Systems theory is pretty broad. And there are certain principles, we're going to discuss a few of the ones that I just mentioned, that apply to all systems, including a plural system. So this is why it's as inside, so outside, and vice versa, because we can take systems theory and learn from it by watching what external systems do and applying it to our internal system. So, don't drop the iPad. So you get a system. I'll try and be loud. So you got your system, your plural system, maybe, or this could be Earth. You got an outside system, got another outside system. You got outer space. Sorry about our sloppiness. So these outside systems, maybe they trade something with you, information, knowledge, materials, whatever it is. You know, we get gamma rays from the sun, we get heat, we get whatever, stuff from the outside comes in. Right? We also pass some things outside, gravitational pull, if you're talking about solar system, whatever it is. There's commerce. There's stuff going in and out all the time. These guys are trading, the outside system is trading, these guys are trading, right? We're a little nervous, we can't draw right now. Okay, so you've got subsystems inside that big guy there. All those little guys inside, the digestive system is passing stuff to the circulatory system, is passing stuff to the respiratory system, back and forth, right? Every single system is in an act of commerce and communication with its surrounding systems and the external system, okay? So this goes for all different kinds of systems. So what are the problems in any system? Any system. Solar system, all the way down, digestive, atoms, whatever. Denial of being a system, that would be kind of counterproductive, right? You know, you sit around going, nope, I'm not your digestive system. Nope. I'm not going to work with you guys because I'm not a digestive system. Disconnections between the members. So lots of health problems can happen if your systems are not, you know, connecting inside themselves and with the surroundings. The inability or unwillingness to communicate, disorganization, lack of commerce and sharing resources. Cancer cells are very greedy. They eat up a lot of resources, right? Individualism, exclusion, selfishness, power and control issues, family systems. We all probably know a little bit of that kind of stuff in family systems doesn't work. Working counter to the external system. So fighting too much, or trying to do something that's not collaborative with the external system. Or sabotage, right, exactly. Yeah. Where members lack leadership, focus, agreements, and work on too many divergent goals. We can see that in, say, the political government, where the different parts are not working together. Or broken or inappropriate system boundaries. We all probably know all too painfully about broken boundaries in all kinds of systems. Stop that. So we have a little theory. We're going to share that with you. We think that DID is two different problems. It's a syndrome. There's more than one thing going on. Our theory is that we have CPTSD issues, and then on top of that we have people issues. So inside of our system, we got these two intertangled issues going on. So we have the CPTSD, and then we have the people. Let's see, how am I saying this? So the problems in any systems functioning as a system generally stem from difficulties operating in accordance with the nature of systems, which I had mentioned before, the whole big definition of what a system is. And if we apply the principle of as inside, so outside, and vice versa, all this commerce and influencing each other type of stuff, we get the same idea as problems in plural systems functioning as a system stem from difficulties in operating in accordance with the nature of systems. So the point of this is to just show you that we can import and export ideas from outside of our system and bring them into our subjective reality and make that work for us. Let's see. We're going to have a moment on boundaries. You're grinning. It's dangerous stuff, that grinning. Oh, thank you. I know what you're doing. Oh, thank you so much. It's not a C. It's yes, I know you're talking about me behind my back. It's great. Yes, we've got two. It's a break in the middle of two circles, really. I'm making a break because I'm about to get fancy here and draw a person in the middle.
Beautiful.
It is a beautiful person in the middle of two circles. And on the left, I'm going to write external. And on the right, I'm writing internal. Okay, so this represents our human body is the boundary, or at least to the external world, it's the boundary between the external world and our internal world. Okay, how many of us do not have any kind of internal world? We all have an internal world? Oh my God, that's amazing, because not all plurals do. Okay, great, that makes this easier. It does. It does, because, then it's like, oh, okay. All right, so we have external reality, we have internal reality. And so we're going to do a couple of exercises here and basically think about what goes on the external side. And I'm going to ask you guys to shout out maybe a couple of things that go on the internal side that match it. But let's see, what do I got here? So what has commerce across this boundary? What goes from the external world across the boundary, across our body into our internal world? Senses. Okay, sensory information, yes. Good. Stressors. Wow. Wait, I gotta write this down.
Stressful things happen.
Ah, senses. Stressors.
Relationships.
I need a smaller writing instrument here. Okay. What was it?
Relationships.
Relationships. Like messages. Ideas is what I had written down. Yeah, so ideas, media.
Likes and dislikes.
Okay. Okay, so some of the ones I had written down are metaphors. Like, how many of us modeled our internal world after something in the external world? Mm-hmm. Yep. Activities. Sometimes things we're doing outside are also happening inside. Anybody got that? Yep. Like the whole as inside, so outside first came from the idea of having a messy desk, indicating a creative mind or a messy mind. Yeah, so that's where it started getting in our brain, like, wait a minute. So influence, adaptations, role models, emotions. So things pass from external reality into the internal reality. And the next thing, okay, get out of here. So, as inside, so outside, and vice versa. To have a healthy plural system, we need to have a healthy, permeable boundary and more deliberate, beneficial commerce with outer, surrounding, and neighboring systems. We have to be more careful about what's passing from the external world to our internal world, and vice versa. As a plural system, our internal world is influenced by the external world, whether by accident or design. The changes to our internal world, because of that, will change how we deal with external reality. The changes to our external dealings inevitably change our experiences of external reality, and it just keeps going in a little cycle where we keep experiencing external reality, bringing it into internal reality. Stuff happens inside, which makes other reactions, which then we bring to the external world, and back and forth and back, and we can reverse this cycle. As plural systems, our external world is influenced by the internal world by accident or design. Changes to our external world will change how we deal with internal reality. And changes in our internal dealings inevitably change our experiences of internal reality. All right, so now what you came for. Internal community building with as inside, so outside, and vice versa. Deliberately pulling the principles of good to great external communities as role models for our internal world.
Good idea, Chris.
I know, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it is. It's a good idea. I've been doing it for a while. Okay, we're back to using the little external and internal diagram for a moment. We're going to ask you, what are examples of lawlessness and leaderlessness? Lawlessness and leaderlessness. What happens in the case of having in a world, any system that's lawless or leaderless? I'll give you some examples. Lord of the Flies, classic example. I know, and I hope none of these titles, I only have 2 more titles, and I hope they're not triggering. Walking Dead. I'll name the 3rd one just to get it over with. Hunger Games. Okay, and then real world examples: riots, anarchy, warfare. These are lawlessness and leaderlessness situations. So what does that look like when those kinds of situations are happening in a plural system? Anybody? Chaos. Destruction. Harm. Spinning out. Dysregulation. That's a big word. Confusion.
Hiding, like parts hiding.
Hiding. And somebody else? Unawareness. Fear. Denial. Hopelessness. Yep. Anxiety. Okay, that's enough, right? We don't want to talk about this anymore. All right, we're done. All right, everybody go home. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So what do we do about lawlessness and leaderlessness is we work on leadership and having some kind of agreements or laws or rules or whatever word works for you guys, a pact, whatever, I don't know. So whatever it is you guys like to use for your word for having something more structured. So we talk about house rules. That's what we like, because we used to use an internal paradigm of a house, but now in our United Front books, we're talking about articles of agreement, because that's what they used to call it on pirate ships, and we went on this whole pirate kick for a while. Actually found like actual articles of agreement from actual pirate ships and started going, wow, that's really interesting. So how can we bring the laws and leadership qualities that we see in external organizations and start to import them into our internal world in a way that works for us? I mean, obviously we don't need, the same rules, but we need the same qualities of rules, the same structure, perhaps, some kind of methodology of what people can and can't do and what we're going to do about it if they don't do it. Doesn't have to be punitive, just has to be something that's enforceable in some way. So we bring in the laws, agreements, principles that protect our members, the members of our system, the people in our head, the members, the culture, and regulate how they interact with other groups and communities, and how to discipline and enforce the rules. I don't like the word rules, but it's so hard finding good words these days. It is. Especially in a mixed group of people, I don't know what everybody's triggers are, so like trying not to hit words that bother people.
The dog hasn't been this relaxed until we got here, so you're doing good.
Good.
I think so.
All right. That's good, because I try to be, but yeah, I'm still a little excited, because like this is like my life's work. Oh my God, I'm presenting my life's work. All right. Yeah. Okay. We get excited. All right, calm down, guys. Calm down. We're back to presenting. Okay, so how do we recruit and develop leaders? We got some qualities of leaders. What are good qualities of leaders? That would be on the external side. What do you think are good qualities of leaders?
Making choices.
Choices.
Empathy.
Ability to listen.
Listening. Mm-hmm. What was that? Compromising, listening, empathy, loyalty, compromise. Confidence. Good. That's good. Balance. Being objective. Yep. Integrity. Yep. You know, I got that on my list. Insightful.
Wise.
Okay. Good. Encouraging. That's great. We got honesty, guidance, role modeling, trailblazing, accountability, teaching, mentoring, coaching, or skill transfer. Because if they hog up all the skills, then you're too dependent on them. Integrity, and sharing and equality. Those are the ones we pinned, to our wall. But everybody can make up their own list of what they're looking for in their leader. All the groups that get together. So what kind of internal activities could we do to encourage leadership within our own system? I am hoping you help me out here, because I didn't write anything down. Team building. I'm sorry? Communication, team building. Voting, yeah. Definitely sharing the equality, yeah. Meetings. Playing? What? Okay. Playing. Living with intent. Yep, definitely. Yeah. So, goal making? Yeah, definitely. Sitting down and planning and having goals. Yeah. Good. So I have to, in the book United Front Recruits, there's a little postcard on my table, and there's 3 books. Recruits is the first one. That's the one where we discuss the forming of, we all have members in our system. We're talking about a spaceship, so it's crew. So we have the passengers, we have the crew, and then we have the officers. So we're talking about the officers. It's like, what does it take to be an officer of the crew? A person that's going to, boldly go where no man has gone before and explore space and, do all of that stuff. It's like, it takes a certain quality of a leader to trailblaze and forge ahead and be brave enough to go out into the world and do the things that need to get done. Okay, we're going to take a little, just a breath. I know this is a lot. I'm like trying to brain dump like all this stuff on people. Sorry.
We're here for
Ooh, I know you're here for it. I know. It's like, yeah. Phew. Selves compassion. Okay, this is a great place to do a little as inside, so outside, pulling things across the boundary, right? So we all know somebody who has had something we empathize with, an emergency, a panic, a crisis, or something that we empathize with. And what are the kinds of things that we would say to somebody in a crisis? And why don't we say that stuff to ourselves? Why are we so hard on each other? Sometimes we really are. We hold ourselves to a standard we would never hold anyone else to. Sometimes we say things to our headmates that we would never, ever say to an external person who is in crisis or in pain or in panic or fear. But we do it, we got to own it, and we got to apologize for it. Like, at least here we do. I'm not talking for you guys, but I am suggesting it. That you say you're sorry, that some of the things that you might say to somebody outside is, it's not your fault. Take good care of yourself or yourselves. Can I help? Right? Would you like to talk? I hope you feel better soon. I'm here for you. And me too. So showing those little acts of love and kindness to the other people that are inside. And always remembering that love is a verb. Love is not necessarily a feeling. The feelings come from the actions. So acting in the integrity of love, acting from a space of love, and just being kind to each other and showing compassion to each other can be so dreadfully important. That alone, that act of coming down from, that level of animosity, panic, fearing each other, just taking it down even a notch can have repercussions across everyone. It just comes down and down and down. And once other people in there are not panicking as much, things get much easier. You can finally hear each other and see each other and communicate and get on the same page. So that was our little moment of self-care break. Whew, another exercise, going back to thinking about external versus internal and what we could pull from the external world into our internal world. Everybody here? Everybody in the room? Anybody need a little welcome back? I'm just hoping nobody's doing the carousel or the revolving door. Okay, so we're going to talk about what makes a system successful, right? Let's get, what do you think are factors of being a successful system? The school system or a club or a whatever, anything. Listening. Inclusivity. Organization.
quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity. Acceptance. Curiosity. That's a great one. Consistency. Safety. Ooh. Passion. Big on passion.
Common platform of understanding.
Right. Common ground. Common platform of understanding. Yeah. Good. Functionality. It's all good. We wrote down agreements, buy-in, leadership, cooperation, respect, equality, fairness and justice, consequences, and compassion. So what does that look like in a plural system? How do we bring those qualities into our internal workings? Patient, stop criticizing. So acceptance or Compassionate understanding.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Acknowledgement of the role.
Acknowledgement of the role.
Respect.
Respect.
Believing each other.
Believing each other. That's a big one. That's a really big one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a tough one.
Being sympathetic to each other,
Being sympathetic to each other.
not just empathetic, but sympathetic.
Right. Not just empathy, sympathy.
Respecting beliefs.
Respecting beliefs. Mm-hmm.
Honoring.
Sorry, what? Making space. Yep.
Honoring everyone's truth.
Honoring everyone's truth.
Validating.
Validating. Yeah.
Reserving time for others.
Reserving time for others. Yeah.
Or time management.
Wow, those are good. I like that. Time management, yeah. Yeah, that's almost like,
A whole topic on this.
yeah, that's a topic. Yeah. Yeah. Terrific. Okay. So just a pause for station identification. On your thumb drives, those of you who've got them, we put a sample little couple of chapters from United Front Recruits, so that's in there for free. Visit our table for more information about that, or we'll talk to you about it out of here. And there's other stuff on our table for plurals and their partners and professionals. We also have another free book on the thumb drive, a little sample of the book is the Chris Link Multiple Choice. And that one's a multiple manifesto, like we were talking, like empowerment, and stuff like that. Well, there's a whole babble. It's a whole manifesto calling for activism and advocacy for multiples and plurals, and things like that. So, and on there's a V card, which is a document that if you click on it, either on your computer or on your phone, will put our contact information into your contact list. So you have like a myriad ways of getting in touch with us, Signal or Keybase.io or Facebook, Twitter, all phone number, and so on. So you can add that to your contacts so you can get in touch with us if you need them for anything. And with that, we're going to go back to more of that. How much time do we got? I'm always worried about running out of time because generally speaking, oh, wow, we're fast, right? Okay, good. Generally speaking, presenters usually go over. So we would be really very conscientious about how many slides and how much to talk about. So if I run out of slides, we're going to just go to Q&A or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Do it.
Yeah. So mirroring. All right, I'm gonna draw again. And it's gonna be easy. It's just stick figures. All right. So in the environment, we might have stick figure number 1, and in the internal world, oh look, we copied stick number 1, and we got doggy here. Little doggy in the internal world, and we got a doggy, out here. The whole point of this is really we end up mirroring our environment sometimes inside. And we end up with things that cross the barrier. There's one well-known thing in psychology that is like this. We all know the word, I'm sure. When we mirror somebody from outside into our internal world, right? Got introjects, we got fictives, we got factives, we've got whatever. You give it whatever name you want, right? So how do we use this kind of thing, the mirroring, the influence from the external world, to allow the influence by choice? That's the whole point, to mirror from the environment to our internal organization and operation. So one of the things that we do in our coaching group, we were talking about this a good bit too, is internal landscaping is the art of deliberately molding and modifying what's going on in the internal landscape. sometimes people don't have the best communication inside. So what can you do? Well, you like order up an intercom system on Headspace Amazon, 2-day delivery. You get it, you unbox it, you do a little video while you're unboxing it, yeah. So you can unpack this thing, install it, or if you have a Harry Potter-ish world and everybody's got magic wands, you can get your owls going to get messages going, your Patronuses and all that stuff to send messages to other people in the system. We do internal landscaping sometimes on the head map. I don't know how many people here were in the head map presentation. We have some philosophical differences, but if you do draw a head map, you can start working on drawing lines between people and making that represent, deliberately making that represent, making connections between people on the head map to help facilitate communication between them. So actually the act of deliberately doing something in physical external space to be mirrored in internal space. Other things that we were talking about, let me think, in terms of imports, deliberate imports. You can install bulletin boards, logbooks, and other methods of keeping short-term information for long-term retrieval.
Now we have new content specifically for the Plural Positivity World Conference. There are 5 principles of multiplicity as we understand them. And we'd like to talk a little bit about them because we think it's important when discovering or working with ISO-AV, as inside so outside and vice versa, to understand that that doesn't stand alone, that there's more to consider that among other principles. So principles are foundational truths or natural laws that govern quality of life. Living in harmony with them is easier and more successful, and going against them is harder. Like, for example, swimming upstream, or going up and fighting gravity. What these laws, the law of gravity, or I don't know even what the law of going up or downstream would be called, but going against them and stuff like that, the law itself, the name, isn't as important as the fact that it's easier to partner with these laws than it is to fight against them. So the first law of multiplicity is we're all in this together, that this is all of our shared life in this body. No one in here is better than anyone else. We benefit from acting in accordance with we're all in this together by collaboration, cooperation, and having compassion for each other. And dealing with things as a group entity, we can have a shared life and be stronger together. The second principle is our shared body is part of our system. So when we deal with life as if our body is not a part of the plural system, then it hurts everyone when we hurt our body or we neglect our body. It doesn't do any of us any good. So it is better if we actually look at it as our body being a member or a part of our system. It's our shared life support system. It's our system boundary between the internals and the externals. It exists both internally and externally. It needs to be healed and heard when it has a message for us, and loved even when we don't identify with it. So even though this is not my body, this is our shared body, and we have to deal with it that way. And if we don't, life gets harder. We don't even have to be fully in our body to take great care of our body. The third principle is ISO-AV, as inside, so outside, and vice versa. That's what this earlier presentation was about. That's that our inner world, our headmates, our climate, and our internal culture are all influenced by external reality, and that the internal reality influences the impact we have as a group entity on the external world. And sometimes improving our inner world has an impact on our external life. The fourth principle is we are not the enemy. The system has rebels and people that go against the grain or are extra stubborn or don't want to listen to the rules. Well, these system rebels are protectors also. Everybody in the system is a protector, which we'll talk about again in a moment. Trust issues and unresolved trauma can cause rifts between system mates, but everyone is here for a reason. And resolving misunderstandings can help us recruit strong allies dedicated to helping our system in all of each of their unique ways. Principle number 5 is dissociation is a tool. Dissociation is not a maladaptive coping mechanism. It's an adaptive way to deal with impossible life circumstances, and it's our ally. The opposite is not sensory integration or unification. It's presence. Most of the time, when we're dissociated, we're not fully present. So mindfulness and being more in the here and now and being in and of the world is actually the opposite of being dissociated. But sometimes we just need to check out and not be here. And that's okay. We just have to learn when we want to choose to do that versus it being kind of a knee-jerk reaction to a problem. So those are the 5 core principles of being a plural system. We haven't identified any others yet, and we don't really even have any candidates. So we're keeping our eye out all the time for whether or not we're missing any others. I mean, there's definitely some up-and-coming runners-up that we've been working with, like having an external safe reality being very important, or taking really good care of our system kids is also really important, but I'm not sure whether they're principles or not, whether they have that kind of law of nature type of feature to them yet. So we've been working on this for the past several years. But these were the 5 we came up with well before the conference in 2019, and still have been testing out and working with and sharing with people. And it does seem to hold together. One of the adjuncts to we are not the enemy, so principle number 4, is that all of the system members are protectors in some type of way. And how that comes into play is the 8 or 9 now F words. So what happens is when system members are stuck in the there and then, or even sometimes when they're in the here and now, they have their own individual preferred reaction to panic situations. So when anxiety is really high, they have a specific run to F word that is like their mode of taking care of that panic or trying to avoid pain. Basically protecting your body and your system. So whenever there's pain or panic, they have these go-to reactions. And it's kind of a closed feedback loop for those that are in the there and then. So one of the reasons that we are not the enemy is because we are each in our own ways trying to help manage what was at some point a really bad situation. Now, those of us who are traumagenic, these reactions may be part of the reason these people exist in the first place. Whereas even if we're not traumagenic, even if the people predated trauma, when people have trauma, no matter who they are, singular or plural, they have certain panic reactions that they go to. So these are basically PTSD reactions, and especially CPTSD, chronic or complex trauma reactions for people who've been through recurring trauma. So where an initial trauma, maybe it's fight and flight and maybe freeze, we have so much trauma going on for such a long time, we start looking for other methods to handle that traumatic situation when it happens again, because obviously fight, flight, and freeze didn't work. So we get more and more inventive, trying to find other methods to handle panic and trauma. So the original 8, some of them are going to be very familiar. So you have fight, which is head on, roar. I'm going to go at the problem and try and tackle it and make it go away. You have flight, make sure I say it right. You have flight, which is run away. You have freeze, which is a innate response to not attract attention. It's becoming still, it's going catatonic, it's just don't move, you might attract attention. Some animals and predators are more attuned to things moving, so it makes sense to freeze. We get into some of the more complex reactions. We have fawning, which is mollifying someone, befriending them, and taking care of the kids by making sure that the aggressor is mollified. You have follow, which is to mimic that person, that if I resemble them, they won't want to hurt themselves, so they wouldn't attack a mirror image of them. So I'm going to be more like them. I'm going to be a follower, I'm going to be their buddy, I'm going to imitate them so that they may overlook me as a target. Fortify, which is build a bigger fortress, hunker down, get into a bunker. That's maybe hiding or creating bigger walls and stronger walls. And then there's fabricate, which is changing the story. It's innately threatening when the people you depend on for your life are also the people hurting you. So they can't, sometimes they can't seem to be wrong. They can't be the ones doing something wrong. So if they're not the ones doing something wrong, I must deserve it. I must be the problem. So this is making up some kind of a new reality that explains away the problems and the trauma and tries to change the story to fit a different narrative rather than they're bad for hurting me, I'm bad and I deserve it. So there's many different ways to do fabricate, but that's one of the ones that are very familiar to people. Another one is facilitate, which is trying to take control and removing power from the source of the panic. And the people who use facilitate a lot are always trying to control circumstances and trying to regain the power in the situation. And sometimes it's to their detriment, sometimes it works really well. So it can be either way. The new one that somebody pointed out to us was fitting, which is instead of changing the story to, as in fabricate, changing the story, it's changing yourself to fit the narrative. So it's kind of fawn and follow kind of have some of these traits, but this is actually who can I be? Who can I make myself become that will fit in this situation in a way that the pain, the panic, the trauma goes away, that it's no longer an issue. So how can I be the person you need me to be so that you stop hurting me? So these are the F words that have been identified by us and others in the community. Fight and flight and freeze were recognized in the general psychology community. Fawn and I think it's fawn and follow. Fawn and follow were tend and befriend. Okay, so those are, other ways of saying it. We made it into F words and made it fit, but tend and befriend was recognized in the psychology and kind of in the domestic violence communities. And so those two, so those 5 have been around a while, and we've recognized a few extras, and somebody else brought to us, to our attention, fitting. So we wanted to share that with the community. So these are the ways that various people in our head protect us. So we think of protectors as fight, generally speaking, sometimes fortify, and sometimes facilitate. Some protectors, will just like take control of a situation and be like, all right, that's it, I'm going to handle this. So we recognize those 3 as protector roles, and their choice of F word to handle panic situations. But frankly, everybody, even people with freeze reactions, are on some level protectors. They're trying to protect themselves and by extension all of us. So to dismiss headmates as being unhelpful or in the way or wrecking our life or anything like that, it's kind of misguided, because usually you'll find that they're somewhere in here. So the reason that they're acting that way is because our life isn't safe, because there's things in the environment that are triggering them into panic mode, because we're in pain, we're afraid, we're very anxious, anxiety may be leaking through our system, and so they get activated. When they get activated into PTSD activation, this is where they end up. They end up in one of these F words, doing whatever it is their chosen or favorite or go-to, if you will, reaction is, and that usually ends up being a closed feedback loop that, when we are in pain or we're in fear and we have these reactions, it can create more panic, pain, and fear and keeps us in this loop. Especially for people that are not in the here and now, they end up looping back and forth in between these things and sometimes leaking anxiety and problems through the system. Hopefully this is helpful for people to get a better handle on why it's good to help people come into the here and now and work together on how to handle panic, pain, and leaking anxiety in your system and so on. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you'll join us for a brief Q&A after this session. For more self-help information, please visit kinhost.org, pluralityresource.org, and liberatedlifecoaching.com. And please take great care of yourselves, everybody.